Ubisoft has successfully killed one of their greatest franchises. They have ruined AC for good, at least in my mind. I'm Moonlight F, and today I'm going to be explaining to you why I think Ubisoft has murdered one of their great franchises, and why I think it's a slap in the face to all of us gamers that have invested so much time and money into these games. These games started out as an overarching storyline between these different people, these different assassins of different eras that all had the same common goal of stopping the Templars from reaching a weapon, basically, known as the Atom of Eden. This story was actually very exciting for me when I first picked up the game back in 2013. I loved the concept, and I feel like I feel like most AC fans agree with me. This was an amazing thing at the time, and it really was a game changer in terms of storytelling. But unfortunately for us, Ubisoft has lost sight of what made these games feel so special and different. And it's sad because one of the main things that made Assassin's Creed so fun is that you felt like you was a part of this bigger whole, this major event. For instance, in Assassin's Creed 2, you were the legendary Ezio Auditore, the one and only, the main man of the show, and many that say that his game is what peaked the AC franchise. Honestly, for me, there was a certain golden era when it comes to AC, and I would say for sure that Ezio's storyline was the main soul heart driving force of that peak, and I would say right after would be Connor in Assassin's Creed 3, and so forth, so forth. Now when it comes to me, Assassin's Creed died, I would say in the year 2015 is when it was over. For me, at least. Now, people would say, but that's around the same time Syndicate came out. You're saying that you don't like Syndicate? It's not that I don't like it. It's just that Syndicate, to me, was the last Assassin's Creed game that I played that felt like Assassin's Creed. It was the beginning of the end unknown to me. It was when the skill-based combat started coming into play. So, like, for instance, the enemies have those big numbers over their head, the skill levels. And over time, I started to see in the Assassin games a progression, starting with Syndicate, where they started to drift off from the original foundation of what made these games fun and interesting to me, and started going down a whole different route, a whole different type of game. And to me, this is what ruined, at its core, Assassin's Creed. It used to be this overarching storyline that connected all these games together, but over time they started to become more individual, more on their own form of telling. They just kind of erased all of the setup that we had been getting used to over the years. And I get it, you can't just keep releasing the same game every year and expecting results over and over. Eventually you want to try something new. That's understandable. But at the same time, it's like, fans get used to a certain type of game that you release. They have a certain expectation that you need to fulfill, and AC has sadly just let me down. And I used to be an eager fan back in the day. I used to love these type of games so much. AC was such a game changer for me, especially Assassin's Creed 2, considering it was the first of the Assassin's Creed games that I played and that I loved with all my heart. It is one of the main things that I hold today as a comparison to other storylines in games, and is one of the foundations of how I criticize a lot.
Look how they massacred my boy.
As the forefront of what they offer. Now, people would say to me that Assassin's Creed has always been bad, but this is just blatantly not true. Assassin's Creed did have golden era, the time in which it was at its absolute best when it came to quality, and then from there on, yes, it's fair to say that it has fallen. It has fallen from grace, it has dropped down into a pit, and is now dead to me. I would say that for me, Origins was the death of Assassin's Creed. It was the very beginning of all of the nonsense that I couldn't despise in Syndicate, but it was amplified, and it had came to full force in Origin. And it was sad because as a long-term fan, it was the end of my love for this franchise. It was the end of something that I had held dear for many years, and it's something that sadly I don't see nowhere in sight where they plan to stop and go back to the good old days. Call me old-fashioned, call me some nostalgic old man, but To me, AC has a certain play style that made it stand out, that made it unique. And these games, Odyssey, Origins, Valhalla, they just don't match that same old-time feeling of Assassin's Creed 2 or 3 or even Unity, Black Flag, honestly. Just go back to any of those type of feelings, those type of gameplay mechanics, and I'll be fine. To me, guys, AC has been dead for years now. I don't see anywhere in sight where it's going to get a revival. Let me know when it comes to you guys. As always, I'm Moonlight F, and I'm just looking out for you.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.